Ew! Smells like it's time for another Shy Life podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, studio.
Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Oh, there's going to be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
Hello.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Good boy. He said all that shy is right.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Hello, Paul.
648.
648.
648. Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast for Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm all right, yes. So what's this episode going to be about? Well, it's going to be a music episode, but a little bit different to some of the music episodes we've done. We're going to be talking about a particular era of music, particularly one that was big in the UK in the sort of mid-ish 90s. But some of those bands were very big and did have a hit or two over in America and in other countries too, of course. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Britpop. We're going to have Calum here, we're going to have Harry here, and we're going to be doing some quizzes, some Britpop quizzes, Calum and I. So, yeah, it's busy. So let's run that theme music, and when we come back, we'll get Britpopping. Yes.
Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The high life, the shy life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, captors. How are you?
You quite like a big bang, don't you?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Do you think he has?
I love the Yeti test. It's my favorite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
I could eat my body weight in crisps every day.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all gooey and meaty. Yum, 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 yum.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
I like that, yeah.
Marvellous, Paul.
Hi there.
Oh, Paul, you must tell me, when was it that Britpop was most big? Well, Cromitty, it was kind of big. I mean, it's one of those phrases that some of the bands that were included under the Britpop banner, they weren't that happy about being included, but we won't mention the bands now because they'll come up in the conversations and in the chats, and there were lots of bands that were like quite big ones, and then there were ones that were medium-sized bands who did well in the UK but maybe not overseas, and then there were some very small bands. And you asked a question. Bands like Suede, who don't consider themselves really to be Britpop, but are included because they really kind of are. They were having their first hits in sort of, was it 92 or 93 for sure. Bands like Manic Street Preachers, again, who probably don't consider themselves Britpop, they were around in the very early 90s, and Blur as well, the Charlatans. It's weird that there's a club that nobody wants to be part of, and yet, in a way, the fact that those bands were grouped together has probably given them a longevity long after a lot of them disbanded, and then a lot of them came back together. And in the same way that 80s bands often sort of tour together now, I'm sure there are a number of Britpop bands who also tour together. So who's to say whether it was a name that helped or hindered them? But anyway, the really big year of Britpop was probably 95, because that was the Blur versus Oasis business. But then a lot of bands, there were sort of different waves of Britpop, bands that sort of were formed because Britpop had become sort of popular. I mean, I guess the word pop is also sort of not quite right, because a lot of these bands were probably more indie bands. I mean, I I say that, and I often kind of say I don't see any difference between rock and pop. It's all, if there's a catchy chorus, then it's all the same thing to me. But bands like the Spice Girls and All Saints and other British pop bands were beginning to emerge by the time that Britpop bands were becoming less popular. But there's a big difference between Oasis and the Spice Girls. Kind of, yeah. But there were a lot of female-fronted Britpop bands, so yeah, it was certainly more spiky than the sort of pop that you'd say that Spice Girls did or whatever. It is more rock, really. Perhaps it should have been called Brit Rock. I don't know. Anyway, Cromitty, does that answer your question? I think so, Paul. So basically, a lot of this Britpop was going on during the time you were recording Sutton Park. That is very true. But yeah, I mean, you can often hear me playing music, Britpop music, in the background. Or I refer to bands, or you get a clip of Top of the Pops to break up a scene. So yeah, Sutton Park was very much that sort of era, sort of before, during and after. But because that was the music I was really into when I was making the show. And I started going to gigs, firstly with my friend Kerry, then later with my friend Darren, and then when I met Calum, with Calum, and also sometimes with our friend Julie. So yes. Well, Paul, I think I understand. I think I was so busy having my own traumas to play too much music, but I would have heard the music you were playing. That's right, you would have done. Anyway, right, well, let's move on. I'm not sure where we're going to go first. Probably a bit of a chat with Harry, then maybe some quizzes with Calum. If I don't stick to that format, then don't blame me. Paul, we won't blame you. I don't think it matters which order it all comes. No, you're right. But anyway. Right, let's go. Let's move on into the episode. And let's discuss the musical phenomena that was Britpop. Yes, here we go. Oh, it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to this, Paul. Yes.
So, Calum, we went to lots of gigs around the time of Britpop. Well, kind of. Or we saw bands that were associated with Britpop, even if they didn't like being called Britpop bands.
Yeah, I can't remember when Britpop actually started. Can you remember?
Well,
was it already sort of well into it?
94-ish.
Yeah.
It was not 95. I didn't know you yet, and I did go to some bands like Elastica and Pulp, and then I went to Garbage the first time before I met you in early 96. And then we met in the middle of 96. But the first thing we went to together was that Salad in Reading. The first gig we went to.
Oh, well, I wasn't sure if it was out of Frente. Was another one. That was a very early gig that we went to, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because my sister was still living in
London.
Yeah.
Well, and
Salad, not that they're Brit.
No, Salad was weird because I think I felt like we weren't quite sure how we were going to go to it, or we thought we just couldn't go to it because it was too far to get there and back. And
yeah.
Although we later we used to stay with my great aunt in Reading at that point. It was so new an idea that I didn't even know whether she'd be okay with having other people she didn't know. And I think it was because somebody in the house I lived in said that they fancied the singer from Salad and would happily take us. So I think that's the only reason we got to go to that one. Really, was that guy. I can't remember his name. It was such fun time.
I seem to remember didn't you go and see Placebo as well? Did you get driven to Placebo? Oh, I misremembered that.
I don't. No, I was thinking because I was watching the Top of the Pops review of 1997 last night, and I was kind of thinking, yeah, did I see them? Did I not see them? It's not one that sticks in my mind if I did see them. I like songs.
I definitely didn't, but I think you might have done.
I like songs by them, but I think I don't feel like I liked them enough to go and see them, but I might be wrong. Or if somebody said, do you want to go? Maybe I did.
But then I don't remember being driven to the gig and driven back, but it may have happened. I just can't remember.
I don't remember being driven either, but I know he was a factor in us.
I've got vague memories of there being another person.
And I can remember we went to see Sleeper at the end of '96 with Julie, with our friend Julie, not your sister Julie, but our friend Julie. And I remember it was '96 because I think I'd recorded Sutton Park every day of the year for about 2 to 3 years. And the day we went to see Sleeper, I'd forgotten to record before I'd gone to work because it would have been a bit of a rush. And I forgot we wouldn't be getting back until after midnight, probably. And so I mucked up my record with filming in a row. But I'm sure that was the end of '96. But overall, we saw Manic Street Preachers, although I know they're a bit funny about being called Britpop, possibly. But that was later on. That was in a much bigger venue. That was Reading again.
Yeah. I don't call them Britpop.
They're one of those bands who kind of missed the central point of, because it was the Holy Bible and then Everything Must Go. And the Holy Bible was like '94, I think, and Everything Must Go was like '96. So it kind of didn't. They also weren't a bit like Suede. They kind of missed the central point of Britpop because Dogman Star came out in about '94 and then Coming Up came out in 97, 96, 97. Deals, come and join us. You want to talk about Britpop? You do. You love Britpop. It's your favourite. You're always telling me it's your favourite grumpy old thing. We saw Garbage in Reading, but that was quite big. And Garbage, I don't know whether they count as Britpop anyway because they were a bit later. Come on.
That'll be fun.
Hoopla. Yes.
Hey, well done.
So we saw a lot of quite smaller, sort of later wave of Britpop bands like the Candy Skins, who I definitely say were a kind of Britpop band in that style.
Yeah. Indie.
I've forgotten the name of the band now.
Were you building up to the most obvious Britpop band that we saw a lot that you have mentioned?
Well, Shed 7. Shed 7.
I spoiled the big reveal.
Yeah, we saw them. When was the earliest we saw them?
Well, probably, I can't remember when, but it would have been one of the Guildford Civic Hall ones, I thought.
When he had his big maracas.
He did. And
look shocked. They're maracas, Jill. They shaky noises.
We did go and see them at a small place in Camden as well. I remember the Barfly. I think they're into their. Are they into the second album by then?
I would have thought so because things like Going for Gold were from the second album, and that was probably earlier than we. So they might have been getting on for their third album by the time we saw, or somewhere between the two. We saw Teenage Fan Club a lot, but whether they count as Britpop, I guess they were on the Creation record label.
Yeah, they were. They I would count them. They're indie.
I was trying to think of that. What was that? The band where we liked the first album, and then they came back with some second songs, and they changed the style, and they started performing the songs. The one about the play.
Cosmic Rough Riders.
I was thinking of what they had a song named after a plane company. Straw. Straw. Yeah. They were kind of Britpoppy style. They were kind of that sort of thing. Obviously, we saw Squeeze and we saw Glenn Tilbrook. I guess they existed a long time before. They existed a long time before Britpop, but they kind of are the template for a lot of Britpop bands.
Yeah, but then Suede.
Yeah, they don't like being called it.
Blue Tones.
Yeah.
Even if he is disgraced now.
Yeah, it wasn't when we went Supergrass. We saw. I think I only saw.
We did. You'd seen them already
seen them before. They were the first band I saw, sort of in '95, and I never saw Echo Belly. I don't think. I'm trying to think. Well, we saw Biss, but Biss probably aren't. They're just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw a lot of.
Pulp.
We saw, yeah. Oh yeah, we saw Pulp again.
Saw that one of their
I'd seen
final
them
gigs.
Yeah, we saw them. Or did we? Was it when they came back and did a charity? Or did we see them twice? Did we see them twice together?
I
I
can't
thought we
remember.
saw
Was
them.
that?
I thought we saw
Was it
them.
that We Love Life album? Was it?
I thought we saw. Well, maybe we saw them 3 times, or you saw them twice.
You'd already
together.
you saw
I'd
them
seen
when there was.
But then didn't we see them at the Royal Albert Hall much later for some charity thing with your sister? Maybe.
Don't think so.
Maybe
I think it was Brixton. It was Brixton Academy. That,
I think I saw them at the Royal Albert Hall with somebody for one of the charity ones when they came back.
Catatonia was another one.
Catatonia. And Radiohead, again, they kind of existed. I think Radiohead is possibly one of the biggest bands that I saw, the biggest venues I saw a band in, because I never saw Oasis or Blur in any venue. So I remember we had to have opera glasses to see Radiohead. Well, I probably was into Radiohead enough at that time, but I think I fell out of love with it because they started being more experimental. Yeah.
Would you say Travis was?
Yeah, they were kind of Britpoppy or something, or late, all sort of.
And famously, we saw Manson quite a few times, and we as a support band. They're definitely Britpop.
And we saw Morrissey a lot before he became insufferable. But then he goes through various different genres.
My Life Story. Well, I saw them quite recently. Wet Leg.
You haven't seen Wet Leg.
No, but they're under Britpop.
No.
Kaiser Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, Amy Mann wasn't Britpop because she's American, but she was working in the studio. That I'm With Stupid album from 94 or 5, whatever it was. She was making it in the same studio as the Oasis was making one of their albums. And she made it over here, and she made it with Glenn Tilbrook involved.
Powder. Me.
We didn't see Me, did we?
No.
We didn't do any gigs.
I'm just reading through. Was it useful though? Lush. You saw Lush, didn't you?
I saw Lush, yeah, when they would. I saw Lush when they were in their Britpop phase, because their stuff before Britpop was much more shoegazy, and then they decided that it was better to do sort of more jolly songs.
The Charlatans.
Did we see the Charlatans? I feel like we should.
We did.
Oh, we saw Super Furry Animals at least once, if not.
Yeah.
But they were kind of. They didn't really sound like Britpop bands. They sounded like nobody else, really. They had good tunes deals. Yeah. But so yeah. Anyway, we saw quite a lot of Britpop or Britpop associated bands. Some of them big, some of them small, and also we saw. Again, not a Britpop band, but definitely a big British band. We saw Duran Duran when they did that, when they did when they reformed in the mid-noughties. So that was one of the only times I've been to see a band where I felt like I was seeing, even though they were long past their prime, it felt like I was seeing some famous people, like seeing Simon Le Bon on stage. It was like a really famous person doing us.
And Blondie as well.
Blondie. That was weird. We saw Blondie, but it was half and half with In Excess, but not In Excess when Michael Hutchence was alive.
Yeah.
Who was being the vocalist then?
I think at that time it was the guy from Noiseworks. I can't remember his name. But John Bryan or something. What's his name? It wasn't the guy from the reality quiz program anyway, the reality competition.
We saw the what
JJ thingy,
and we saw the Wonder Stuff and Voice of the Beehive on the same. But neither of them are quite Britpop bands, although Wonder Stuff were sort of just before Britpop.
John Stevens.
Mm.
It was 2000 to 2003. He's 60-year-old now.
Damn, nearly as old as you. Anyway, thank you for. I think we if we're not careful, we'll be talking about loads of other bands. Who else did we say? We saw. They're not really Britpop, but Ben and Sebastian. They have. They sort of started. They were sort of around, but they don't really fit into any particular. They're kind of like themselves deals. Anyway, better stop because we'll never stop if we don't stop. Will we, deals?
Hi listeners, we've got Harry here. This episode has been about Britpop, and Harry was, I knew Harry around the time of Britpop, and although Harry, your taste in music is very much Shakespeare's Sister and Marcella Detroit, but there were aspects of Britpop that you liked that I introduced you to and you heard yourself.
Yes, so I guess the biggest love was Pulp.
Yeah.
Because although you had played Oasis to me, I didn't initially get into Oasis at all. I don't know what it was. Because I think you'd played. Is it the track "Cigarettes and Alcohol"? Or was that the album?
That's a single, but there was an earlier single. I remember playing and saying, "Oh, this is going to be a hit."
Yeah, and now you see that is a, and I can say that is a good song now. But when I first heard it, it was just so messy and loud, and I couldn't really discern anything in it. So I didn't think very much of it. And so for some time I didn't really get into Oasis, but I did later. I think sometimes you have to develop a certain ear for certain things, or maybe you develop a sort of a sympathy for a certain musician or band, and then you're listening more carefully and you pick up on stuff.
There's also a lot of difference between the lyrics of a Pulp song and the lyrics of an Oasis song.
Oh, big time.
Oasis song is very mainstream and generic and almost, and Pulp is talking about the minutiae of relationships or hiding in a cupboard to watch your sister.
Well, actually, a lot of it is quite pervy, actually, to be honest. I mean, but it wasn't necessarily that. If anything, actually, the lyrics were sort of sometimes a little bit off-putting, because it meant that I'd sort of say if you listen to the melody, it's incredible. There's some wonderful melodies in Pulp. But some of the lyrics can be pretty off-putting, and there's nothing you'd want to think, I'd love to, Dad, you could listen to this song and really like. And Dad actually did quite like Common People, for example. But then there's some lyrics in Common People which are actually pretty off-putting. Some of the grittiness of it is quite is fine, and. But actually, you sort of think, if he wasn't writing songs, you'd want to put him in prison, really, to be honest. It's quite pervy.
What other Britpop bands did you like? Blur? Any of Blur's?
I did like Blur.
I was very much into Blur, and I probably...
Blur was, once again, it was quite sort of messy. I remember Girls and Boys or something?
Yeah.
Which was... I liked it, but I thought it was pretty infantile and a bit messy. And then he went a little bit more sort of mainstream with some of his music. I have to say that I probably did like that actually a bit more. Some of that sort of stuff that he did. I'm trying to think of To the End. Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
To the End. I really like that song. There's a French language version of To the End, which actually goes extremely well. I quite like the Universal. I think that's quite a nice sort of song.
Country House was a number one, but it's not my favourite.
No, I don't like
because that's very sort of mainstream.
That they did that Britpop with country.
Yeah.
Was it Country House and what was the
Roll With It?
They're both awful songs, actually. Yeah, they're both pretty. I mean, they're all sing-along songs, but they are very tired in a way. Very off the shelf.
They're sort of changed their style and went slightly more American with things like Song 2.
Song 2 wasn't too bad though, but when Song 2 first came out, you sort of thought, what the hell's going on? But Song 2 actually isn't too bad a song.
No.
And also when they went in and started the other collaboration, which was the Gorillaz.
Yeah.
There are some of those songs is it Clint Eastwood? Is that one of the songs? It's quite good.
That was Gorillaz one, yeah.
Yeah. So, so some of the Gorillaz stuff was I quite liked. I think Damien Albarn is amazing. Actually, I think he's a real genius. Especially if you do songs like To the End, if you listen to some of the other embellishments that are put through it, you sort of think, how did he choose those? But they work so well with the song.
What about other bands? I think maybe you're liking some Sleeper.
Yep,
Sail of the Century.
Was nice. Sail of the Century was good. Yep, I like that.
Echo Belly.
Oh, I loved Echo Belly.
Good Things.
Actually, King of the Curb.
King of the Curb.
Yeah,
that was the second. That was the Sail of the Century for Sleeper and King of the Curb for Echo Belly. They were their second albums, but they're the albums that were more popular than their first albums. But I already knew them from their first albums because that was when I was starting to go to gigs, and Kerry and I used to always go to HMV or Virgin on a Monday after lectures to see what new singles were.
I don't know who the lead singer in Echo Belly was, but she had a really great voice.
Sonia Madden, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. Really great voice.
And then there were people that were sort of almost like second wave of Britpop, like Catatonia.
I quite like Catatonia. She was quite Welsh.
She became more Welsh as it went on. She sort of seemed to almost play up. The first album, I think perhaps.
So what's the song that I'm thinking of then with Catatonia? Because I am thinking of a song. I'm thinking of certain lyrics.
Road Rage?
Yeah, Road Rage, yeah.
It's all over the front page. Yeah. You give me Road Rage. But there's some singles off the first album, Sweet Catatonia and You Got a Lot to Answer For, which were minor hits, which that's what got me.
Was there a song that was Dead From the Waist Down or something?
Yeah,
it was quite sad, really. Yeah. There were quite a few. There was
Super Furry Animals.
Oh, well,
one or two of those.
Super Furry Animals are very, very good. There's some of their songs are, I think, perhaps more mainstream and more accessible, and I got into them. I feel like it's another thing like Oasis is that if I had the key to properly understanding them, I would probably like them a lot more than I do.
And there were so many bands and also bands that then saw what was popular and copied them. But I think I found it quite exciting because suddenly the bands that weren't necessarily traditional pop bands, the indie bands, were actually having top 10 hits.
Who did the Hey Dude one?
Kula Shaker.
Oh, Kula Shaker, yeah. I quite like Kula Shaker because they brought in Indian music into pop music, which was nice.
I actually like the fact that for a change the underground music wasn't underground, it was overground. Overground, one billing free. First bit. But anyway, yeah, you didn't really go to many gigs with me, did you? Did you go to any?
No, I mean, I can tell you the gigs that I've been to because I've only been to, I think, probably 2 in my life. One was Morrissey, which was incredible, really incredible. He was amazing. But it was clearly a physically exhausting performance for him because he had to change shirts halfway through the performance. And I know that he's problematic in so many ways, but clearly another one who's a real genius. And so Morrissey, and then obviously I saw Shakespeare Sister.
It does depend. I think Morrissey does depend a bit on the people he's writing with. I think he hasn't exactly progressed musically in the last 25 years.
Quite possibly. But, and it obviously can be quite problematic. And he had completely banned animal products from the venue that he was gigging in, which, that's basically his choice. That's the environment that he feels comfortable in. But it shows the lengths that people will go to when they're at that sort of stage in their career, I guess.
But anyway, it was an interesting time for music, and a lot of people sort of came in and out of people like Suede and Manic Street Preachers, and even Blur to a certain extent existed before Britpop, but it didn't necessarily harm their chart positions.
Manic Street Preachers is another good example, another band I really quite liked.
They've been around for a while before Britpop, but they did have a very successful album in '96, so probably benefited off the back of it. Suede had around the same time, although they'd been around before, had a very successful album.
Would you say that Suede are Britpop, or?
Yeah, they don't really like that term, but a lot of them don't like that term. But it probably did help them sell them some records.
Right. I mean, I liked Suede quite a bit. It's got happy memories for me.
Yeah. And even the album that they had out in like 98 or 99, around the time we were going to Pop Stars, they always played that song Electricity, which was the lead single off that album. And then they play like other songs from the previous album, like Beautiful Ones.
That's such a great song,
then they have been around since sort of 91.
Some really fantastic music.
Anyway, thank you very much.
No problem.
Here's the first Britpop quiz. It's from... I can't vouch for any of these. And some of them...
Britpop's still going on.
Is what?
Is Britpop still going on, or is it finished?
Well, I don't think it's... I think that's considered very much a 90s thing. I mean, technically it possibly is, but... yes, it says... Think you know Britpop. Test your knowledge of the 90s UK pop rock scene.
Pop rock.
Can't even... That's okay. Start quiz. What? Oh, yes. Okay. Question. It's 10 questions. As always, we'll start... Oh, no, that's them saying that. Blur had a massive hit in 1994 with which song? Park Life, Thug Life, Herb Life.
Herbalife. Was it Park Life?
Park Life. This is going to be like...
I hope they're all easy like that.
Yeah. Oasis hail from which UK city? London, Manchester or Glasgow?
Manchester.
This is too easy. This is like when you get Doctor Who quizzes, which are meant for people who have only watched 2 episodes of Doctor Who ever and know about the TARDIS, the Daleks, and that's it. It's patronising. It's without Googling it. Come on, for goodness sake. What was the name of Suede's second studio album? Dogman Star, Man Bites Dog, Scatman
Dogman Star, Scatman Brothers.
What are they?
Dogman Star.
Yeah, who's even doing these questions? Supergrass's first big hit saw them riding around on bicycles in the
All
music video. Yeah. Hollywood director Steven Spielberg enjoyed it so much he offered to create a TV show about them. What was the track? All right. Even Deals knows the answers to these. Which frontman crashed the stage at the 1996 Brit Awards? Blah, blah, blah. Michael Jackson, blah, blah, blah. Richard Ashcroft, Liam Gallagher, Jarvis Cocker. Jarvis Cocker. It's like Britpop in easy stages. Which former Blur member currently hosts the big festival on his farm in Oxfordshire? Alex James, Damon Albarn,
Alex
Graham
James.
Cox. Yeah. Too easy deals. Complete the lyric from this 1994 Dodgy track. Well, my goods turn bad, and it's just my luck that you're not on my side friendless radar.
Oh, that's more difficult.
I don't know which
Side?
I'm not sure what song that's even from.
Well, it's got to be good enough, isn't it? It's anyone.
Question 8. What was the Verve's only #1 hit single in the UK? Lucky Man, Bittersweet.
Bittersweet.
Drugs Don't Work. Or was it Drugs Don't Work? I think it was Drugs, but I think.
Oh, was it?
It might have been
You may be right. Yeah, you may be right.
The Bittersweet Symphony might have been #2. Which Britpop heavyweights released new album Instant Pleasures in 2017, 16 years after their previous record?
Shed 7. The heavyweights. Fatties.
It was either Echo Belly, Shed 7 or Sleeper. Question 10. The relationship...
You didn't buy it.
The relationship between the Gallagher brothers has been strained, to say the least. The whole thing came to a head when Liam allegedly launched which fruit at Noel during an argument: tangerine, plum, or banana. It's not strictly. I'm not sure that's strict part of.
I don't know that one.
I might go for.
I guess banana. I don't think you'd have a tangerine.
But tangerine's probably a bit highfalutin for members of Oasis. We've got 9 out of 10 deals. Our grade is Champagne Supernova. Which one did we get wrong? #1's right, #2's right.
Dodgy lyric.
It's either the lyric or the fruit, which #4 is right, #5 is right, #6 is right, #7 is right. So we got the dodgy track. I think we got the fruit wrong. So really, I don't think we should be too interested.
We don't know Britpop.
We don't know which. We don't know Britpop. We don't know which fruit was chucked at the drugs don't work is right. Said someone's right. It was wrong. Well, what was it then? Say which one it was. Probably a tangerine, because plums are really going to be beyond them. I can't imagine them eating a plum. Okay, let's try another one. This is from The Guardian, this one. That other one was just from a website. We can't. Well, this is quite a lot of questions. We'll see how quickly we get through. What was the evening session? An album, a radio show, a pub, or a gig venue? It was a radio show.
Yeah, show. Joe Wiley, Steve Lamacq.
Oh, apparently we can get revealed immediately. Yes, we're right. Justine Frischmann was guitarist and lead vocalist in which band? Boo Radley's Blue Tone, Salad, Elastica. Yes. Where was the Greyhound Stadium on the cover of Blur's Park Life? Walthamstow, Catford, Wimbledon, or Romford, wasn't it?
Walthamstow.
That is right. Which of these was originally going to be on the cover of Park Life? An empty football pitch, an ice cream van, a fruit and vegetable cart, a climbing frame? Don't think I've ever heard what was supposed to... I think I'd guess an ice cream van, but because it's the most sort of...
Well, unless a climbing frame to link in with park. I suppose you can have an ice cream van in the park as well.
I think an ice cream van is the most photogenic. Oh, it was... Well, neither of us were right. It was a fruit
salad.
It was a fruit and vegetable cart. I don't think I've ever heard that discussed. Which London street features on the cover of Oasis's What's the Story Morning Glory? Abbey Road, Shaftesbury Avenue, Regent Street, or Berwick Street? Berwick Street. All those other ones are too famous, and it's just a ordinary street in Soho. Yes. Which band was Noel Gallagher sound technician for before Oasis formed? Well, it was Spiral Carpets. The option is the Stranglers, or Spiral Carpets, or Clint Boone Experience. Clint Boone was in Spiral Carpets. Which band's frontman featured on the cover of Select's Yanks Go Home issue? Suede, Heavy Stereo, Oasis, or Menswear? Suede, because he's the only one that was kind of often got pictured without the rest of the band. Yes, Suede. So you didn't. What city are Shed 7 from?
Leeds, York.
Leeds is one of the suggestions. Leeds, Liverpool, York.
I know. York City.
Which London borough is the good mixer in? Camden, Lambeth, Camden, Hackney, or Islington? At least we're only getting the ones wrong that, like, nobody actually knew the answer in there. What was the first Oasis single? Live Forever, Cigarettes and Alcohol, Shaker Maker, or Supersonic? Either Shaker Maker or Supersonic.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't.
I think I'm going to say Shaker Maker, but I think it might be Supersonic. Yes, it was Supersonic. Deals. Why didn't you persist? I think Shaker Maker might be the one I bought, the first one I bought, but I think there'd been one before that. I mean, they weren't at high place, those first couple of things. Anyway. Which member of Blur has a regular column in The Sun? Damon Albarn, Graham Coxon, Alex James, Dave Rowntree. I'd say Alex James, but yeah.
I just said...
It was Alex James. No, Alex James is more popularist. How many studio albums have... Well, this I don't know when this one comes from. When is this? Oh, this is 2014, so you have to take that into consideration. How many studio albums have Suede released? 4, 5, 6, or 7? Well, so I think we need to take at least one off the list. How many did they do in their original run? They did the first album, Dogman Star, Coming Up, the one with the one after that, and then the last one that wasn't that popular. So there's at least 5, and I think they've done one more. So I'll say 6, but I think they probably have done 7 now. But in 2014 they hadn't.
Night Games, it was called.
Yeah, if they say 5, it's because they're not counting the newer ones. 6 is right. I think it would be 7 now, though, because they've definitely done 2 albums. Who is credited with coining the term Britpop? Joe Wiley, Steve Lamar, Andrew Collins, or Stuart McConey? It's one of those last two, isn't it?
Stuart McConey?
Was it in The Enemy or The Melody Maker? Yes, it was Stuart McConey. Who stars in the video for Pulp's Common People? Sadie Frost, yes.
Yes.
The other suggestions are Sandy Shaw, Ellen Cranshaw, or Shirley Manson. I don't even know who Ellen Cranshaw is. Who stars in the video for Sleepers in Betweener? Bruce Forsyth, Henry Kelly, Roy Walker, or Dale Winton? Dale Winton. Who is the singer in Gene?
Martin Rossiter.
Yeah. Suggestions are Margarine. I mean, sorry, that's what the singer from Salad is. How do you even pronounce her first name?
Oh, it's Marina, isn't it?
Is she Dutch?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Marina van Drandervloed, Martin Rossiter, Lauren Laverne, Jem Archer. It's definitely Martin Rossiter. Which of these bands didn't support Oasis at Nebworth in 1996? Happy Mondays, The Chemical Brothers, Manic Street Preachers, or The Prodigy? I can't imagine
Manic Street Preachers.
Happy Mondays was sort of probably in one of their reforms by then. Oh, Manic Street Preachers did. Happy Monday. It was probably too early for Happy Mondays because they were still doing Black Grape.
In the name of
Manic Street Preachers didn't really like anybody. And they were pretty big themselves in '96. Because they were in their sort of
Black Grape.
Manic Street Preachers were Everything Must Go was
Everything Must Go,
and then the album after that they had #1 singles on. Anyway, where was the video for the Boo Radleys Wake Up Boo films? A North Sea oil rig, Carnarvon Castle, Majesty Power Station, or Chris Evans's kitchen? I don't remember the video for Wake Up.
No, the kitchen sounds plausible.
No, it was Majesty Power Station. So when it was all ruined, everyone films there. Who was the lead vocalist in Echo Belly? Debbie Smith, Alex Kaiser, Beth Gibbons, or Sonia Madden? Sonia Madden. Beth Gibbons was from Portishead. Debbie Smith was also in Echo Belly.
Echo Belly, yeah.
I don't know who Alec Kaiser is. Alec Keyser. I don't know who he is. Yes, Sonia Madden is right. Who was the bassist in Supergrass? Mickey
Dolenz.
Mick Quinn, Danny Goffey, Paul Jones, or Rob Coombs? I don't know. I'm not very good at bassists.
I think it was Quinny.
Yeah. Danny Goffey was the drummer.
Goffey was the drummer, yeah.
Rob Coombs, he was the brother of Gaz Coombs, who's the singer. And Paul Jones is my friend. Paul.
They only really had 3 at the beginning, didn't they? And that properly in the band, didn't they?
I mean, there were lots of Paul Joneses, as well as my friend Paul Jones. There's also Paul Jones, who was in
Manfred Mann.
Yes, Nick Quinn is right. What was the first track on Supergrass's I Should Coco? All Right, Man-Sized Rooster, Caught by the Fuzz, I'd Like to Know.
I think it was Caught by the Fuzz, wasn't it? Or was it I'd Like to? I think it was I'd Like to Know, actually. And then Caught by the Fuzz was the second track.
You're right, it is I'd Like to Know. Is it? I thought it was the strange one. The strange ones.
And they all kind of go into each other, don't they, all those tracks?
I haven't listened to them for a long time. Who dubbed Ian Brown King Monkey? Nigel Clark from Dodgy, Johnny X from Kinnicky, Danny Goffey from Supergrass, or Alan Leach from Shed 7?
Leachy.
It's difficult because when was he in that case he must have been dubbed King Monkey a lot like when they came back, because none of those people were around when Stone Roses were first famous. It was Nigel Clark from Dodgy. Maybe they were around in the background. Which Sleeper song was used on the soundtrack to Trainspotting? Nice Guy, Eddie, Statuesque, Vegas, or Swallow? I thought it was their cover of Atomic by Blondie, but maybe Vegas.
Nice Guy Eddie. I'll go Nice Guy Eddie if I had to guess. You had that soundtrack album.
I did, which is why I didn't think any of those songs were on the soundtrack to Trainspotting. I thought it was another one.
It was only about 31 minutes long.
It was Statuesque. So any of those. What was the name of Me, Me, Me's first and only single?
Oh, there you go.
Hanging Around. Hollywood Boys, Hanging Around. Tabitha's Island, or Watch Out. Me, Me, Me was Alex James from Blur and Stephen Tintin Duffy, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I listened to it again quite recently. How old was Jarvis Cocker when he first formed Pulp? 13, 15, 18, or 22? That's difficult.
18?
Yeah, I mean, could even have been 22, but go for 18. Oh, 15.
Oh.
The thing is, I mean, just go back to like 78. But if I was Nick, I would know exactly how Jarvis Cocker was. Because I would know exactly when I don't think Nick would know when Jarvis Cocker was born, but you know what Nick's like. He can remember people's date of birth. Pearl Lowe was singer in which band? I know the answer to this. Salad, Younger 28s, Marion, Powder. It was Powder because Powder ended up in that Britpop, like that thing that they did at the time of Britpop. They were one of the people, one of the bands to do with Britpop, which were never famous and never had a top 40 hit. I don't think they ever did. I did see them. I saw them live. The only reason they're well known really is that Pearl Lowe was Danny Goffey's wife, I think. But I think
I recognise her name. Yeah.
She's written books about Britpop, and I think people who don't know much about Britpop tend to think, she was a big mover and shaker in Britpop. But maybe she was behind the scenes, but she wasn't as far as charts were concerned. The Blue Tones song Marblehead Johnson is a tribute to which comedian? Bill Hicks, Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor, or Sam Kinison? I don't think I'd know that. I don't think I knew it was. I mean,
I guess Bill Hicks, the sort of person that
Yes, it was Bill Hicks.
Was famous around then.
Who was it? Him? Who was?
The one that died. He's quite young, really, when he died.
Yeah. What was that REM song about Man on the Moon? That was that Bill Hicks as well? Was that somebody else? That was on a film to do with, or to do with a comedian.
Charlie Kaufman.
Oh yeah.
Or Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman. Yes, I guess he meant Charlie Kaufman is a person as well. I think, isn't he? Isn't he a film director or writer? Didn't he do Being John Malkovich? I might be wrong. If it's wrong, I shall cut it all out. How many people turned up to see Blur at Mile End Stadium in 1995? 15,000, 23,000, 27,000, or 32,000? You might know.
Billy knows.
Well, I don't even know how big.
Big yawn.
I don't even know what sort of amount of people stadiums hold. You might know from your football knowledge.
Well, I'm not sure it's a particularly big stadium, but I'm guessing if it have people standing in the infield, it's not like an all-seated stadium or anything like that. So what's the lowest number there?
15,000.
Yeah, 15,000.
I remember it happening. Oh no, it was 27.
Yeah, nearly right.
Got two more of this one. Which band nearly heralded their post-Britpop comeback with Cocaine Socialism, a song about New Labour? That was Pulp. Blur, Pulp, Oasis, Menswear. I don't think they've gone away. I feel that was like a B-side on, like, that's their last album, wasn't it? Who directed the film Live Forever, The Rise and Fall of Britpop? John Dower, Frank Rodham, John Batzek, or Alex James? I don't think it was Alex James. I don't know those other people.
I've never heard of him.
Maybe we should say it's Alex James if they know who he is. John Dower, whoever he was. We got 20 out of 30. It says it's a terrific score. It says you know pretty much everything there is to know about Britpop, except for like facts, like figures about how many people were in the stadium. Let's see. How many questions on this one? This is Radio 2. This will probably be too easy.
Radio 2.
How many questions is it going to be? I get involved in some massive... Well, let's start it. 10, okay. It was a contest of the Battle of Britpop, but which single topped the UK singles chart in 1995?
Country House.
Country House or Roll With It? Yes, Country House. It says Blur's Country House won out selling 274,000 copies to Roll With It's 216,000.
Even though Country House wasn't a very good song.
No, Roll With It isn't that good either. Which album cover featured a photo of guests at a wedding? Be Here Now, Dogman Star, The Charlatans Telling Stories, or Pulp Different Class? Well, I'd say Pulp Different Class.
Yeah.
Even though there wasn't, well, there were loads of covers for Pulp Different Class, but because, well, in the original release of it, you had different cards. You could choose what cover you used, but a wedding was one of them. So, might say that. The wedding photo belongs to Pulp's Different Class, which turns 25 this year. And was that? Is that right? Is this a current one? Current quiz? It's about 20. No. 1995 it came out. So this is a year or two old, this quiz. The wedding photo belongs to Pulp's Different Class, which, yes. It features classics. Yes, we don't need to know what tracks are on it, for goodness sake. I thought you might have something useful to tell us. Which of these Britpop singles was used as switchboard hold music for NASA? Disco 2000 by Pulp, Tap 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 Bar by Cooler Shaker, Girl from Mars by Ash, or Wake Up Boo by the Boo Radleys? None of those sound like... Why would NASA play any of those songs? They're all very British songs.
Girl from Mars. Well, it's got a space theme, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds silly though. Maybe like Cooler Shaker. I don't know if that was a hit. Which do you want to say? I'm tempted to say Cooler.
I'll go for the Ash.
Oh, I think that's too much of a pun. But you're correct. It was Ash's Girls from Mars. Frontman Tim Wheeler claimed their 1995 single was being used by NASA in a 2016 interview with publication Louder Sound. Oh, it's only him saying it. It could be that he was teasing. Elastica's Justin Fishman retired from music to become what? A painter, a radio presenter, a pilot, a teacher.
Painter, I think.
I mean, I think she has presented documentaries, but correct. She became a painter. Fishman began exhibiting her artwork in 2013, though she helped produce songs for the musician MIA's 2003 debut album, Aruga deals. Who is widely credited with coining the term Britpop? Had this one before. Zoe Ball, Tony
McConey.
Stuart McConey or Johnny Marr. Johnny Marr wouldn't have done that. Although the term is believed to have existed prior to the 90s, BBC Radio 6 music DJ Stuart McConey is credited with using Britpop first in a 1993 feature for Select. Which Britpop band did Louise Weiner front Sleeper? It also suggests Saint Etienne, Echobelly or Catatonia. London group Sleeper, fronted by Weiner, released 3 albums in the 90s and a comeback LP, The Modern Age, in 2019. So it's not too old, this question. Who narrates the vocals on Blur's single Park Life? Ray Winston, Vinnie Jones, Phil Daniels, Danny Dyer.
Phil Daniels.
Danny Dyer wasn't even thought of back then.
He wasn't even born.
He wasn't even born, Deals. It was, of course, the actor Phil Daniels whose monologue takes centre stage on the 1994 single. It reportedly took just 40 minutes to record his vocal take. All it doesn't say is the reason that he was doing it, and which I'm sure was to do with the fact that he was in Quadrophenia, which was a mod film in the late 70s. And Blur was sort of moddy version of the 90s, weren't they, dears? That's the sort of extra information. Which band is responsible for these lyrics? Things are getting strange. I'm starting to worry. This could be a case of Mulder and Scully. That's Catatonia.
What's Catatonia?
There's the verb Catatonia, Echo Belly, or Supergrass. Catatonia, dears. Oh, dear. It was Catatonia, fronted by Keris Matthews. The single Mulder and Scully was named after the two main characters from TV show The X-Files. Where was the photograph taken for Oasis's iconic Definitely Maybe cover? That's the first out. Well, yes, because the other question was the other one. Frontman Liam Gallagher's house, Gary Lineker's house, photographer Michael Spencer Jones's house, guitarist Bonehead's house. It's quite posh, the house. Seeing as they only just started. It makes you wonder.
Not Gary Lineker's house.
Makes you wonder if it was the photographer's house, because would they have afforded a nice house like that when they were barely starting? Oh, it's wrong. Where was it?
Bonehead's house.
The photo was taken in co-founder and guitarist Bonehead's house. He owned the Pink Flamingo and photograph of George Best that both appear on the cover. Well, they lived in quite nice houses, considering maybe they got an advance by that point. Last question, and finally, which album did Suede win a Mercury Prize for? Coming up, Suede, Dogman Star, or Head Music? Suede. It was the first one.
I thought it was. Was it?
Yes, it was.
I thought it was Coming Up.
Well, they might have won lots of things for that album as well, but deals, we've still got a couple more things to do. The answer is that 1993 self-titled LP. It beat albums by PJ Harvey, Sting, and East 17. East 17?
East 17.
You know, I can't imagine their album being good enough to be recommended for a Mercury Award. I think that was the first year of the Mercury Award.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, it just says 9 out of 10, live forever. Well, thank you very much. What else have we got? Oh, we got, what's that one? Britpop, one by the Express. That's probably very basic. Let's skip that one. Yeah, I think there's too many adverts on that one. We'll skip that one.
I like the adverts.
Oh, yeah, we've got to do these two because you're good with the lyrics. That's how many. These lyrics. I hope not too many. And then the last one we have to do is which Britpop band are we? So we have to do that. So they're not quite the same. Not quite quizzy, quite the same sort of quiz. Okay, these are lyrics. What did the protagonist in Pulp's Common People study at St Martin's College? Was it architecture, painting, or sculpture? Shit.
Sculpture, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when it mentions it. I think
At St Martin's College.
Yeah. I don't remember when it mentions what she did. Remember, she had a thirst for knowledge, but it rhymes with college. We can go for scripture. Not scripture, sculpture. Yes, it's correct. Famous opening lyrics. She came from Greece. She had a thirst for knowledge. She studied sculpture in St Martin's
St Martin's College, yeah.
You
should listen to that track sometime.
Never heard of them. The first line of Girls and Boys is girls who are boys. What's the second line? Who do girls like their boys? Who like boys to be girls? Or who do boys like their girls?
Do be girls like their boys?
Which one? Who do girls like their boys? Who like boys to be girls? So that's not that one. Who do boys like their girls? Is it the first one? Sometimes you don't necessarily properly hear.
Girls who like boys, who like girls to be boys. That one.
Well, that's not even an option. It's who do boys like their girls?
That's the way I've always sung it.
So which one do you think it is?
I can't remember.
I think it's...
You choose. You're the big Blur fan.
Girls who are boys, who do girls like their boys. No, who like boys, who do boys like their girls. Maybe that one.
Yeah, you sound like you're singing a song now.
Oh, it's wrong. It's who like boys to be girls.
That's what I said.
Well, I asked you what you said. It's always very confusing.
Streets like a jungle.
Always should be someone they really love. What are the opening lines of Elastica's Connection? Riding on anything, anything's good enough. Riding on any wave, that is the luck you crave. Riding on nothing, they don't believe it now. I think two of those are lyrics in the song, for sure. I think maybe riding on anything's good enough. I don't remember it riding on any wave. Should we go for the first one?
That doesn't sound like the very first line, though. Does it say the very first line?
Yeah, what do you think is the first line?
I'm going to look it up on Google.
No, you can't. Deals. Riding on any wave, that is the luck you crave. Riding on nothing, they don't believe it now. Riding on anything's good enough. That is definitely a line. I'm going to go for that one.
It's riding on any wave.
Yes, it is. Choose soon enough. In All Right, Supergrass ask, are we like you? I can't be sure of the scene as she turns. And then what?
So thread in a word.
Keep our teeth nice and clean. Can't go mad, ain't got time. We are strange in our worlds.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. What's the final line of Oasis' Don't Look Back in Anger? At least not today. I heard you say, my soul slides away.
I heard you say, wasn't it? Or was it, if not today?
It's not today.
It's not today.
Don't look back in anger. Don't look back in anger. I heard you say, at least not today. Our deals. What do you think? Next. What caused Tom York to sing, I bet you think that's pretty clever, don't you, boy? At the beginning of Radiohead's High and Dry. Flying on your motorcycle, you broke another mirror. 2 jumps in a week.
2 jumps in a week.
That's correct. What's the next line after? What's the next line after? We don't talk about love. We only want to get drunk. In the Manic Street Preachers are designed for life, and we are not allowed to spend. As we are told that this is the end. I wish I had a bottle.
We are not allowed. We are not allowed to spend.
That's correct. Got to number 2 in 1996. Deals. Fill in the missing word from this line in the second verse of the verse Bittersweet Symphony. I need to hear some sounds that recognise the bleep in me. Yeah, is it the pain, the feeling, or the anger? No, but I'm not good at lyrics, Giles.
I can't even get the melody.
Boop, 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 boop.
I know that bit. England football, isn't
it? I get sued by the Rolling Stones for that careful, Giles.
It's just a bittersweet symphony on ITV. That's what I sing to that.
Feeling. I need to hear some sounds that recognise the feeling in me. Let's go for that. It's wrong. It's pain. Apparently it's, well, I never pray, but tonight I'm on my knees. Yeah. I need to hear some sounds that recognise the pain in me. Yeah. I let the melody shine. Let it cleanse my mind. I feel free now, but the airwaves are clean and there's nobody singing to me now. I could say I'd never heard any of that. I obviously don't listen to the lyrics of that song. I don't think it's a particular favourite, so I'm sorry. Ocean Colour Scenes, the Riverboat song, was used on TFI Friday when Chris Evans introduced guests. How does it start? I see trouble up ahead. I think it's trouble. Yeah. I see trouble up ahead. I see double up ahead. No, that makes no sense. I see rubble up ahead. That makes no sense either. They've given up now. They've got to question 9 and they're like, oh, just put anything. Oh, well, apparently it's I see double up ahead. But it always sounded like trouble. It makes more sense. What does that mean? Are you the use of the song at TFI Friday? Oh, it just says it out in the top 10. But I see double up ahead. This makes sense. No wonder we thought it was. Well, it gives the percentage of people that voted. It says most people go for that. That's what people thought it said. Last question. And finally, complete the chorus on the Boo Radley's hit Wake Up Boo. Wake up, it's beautiful morning. The sun's shining for your eyes. Wake up, it's so beautiful. Get out of bed because time flies. For what could be the very last time. This is the day that you'll win a prize.
What could be the very last time? Well, I think I kind of missed when you started doing it.
Yeah, get out of bed because time flies. For what could be the very last time. That's definitely a line in the song. This is the day that you'll win a prize. I don't know if it fits in. Let's do the one that I know is definitely a line, and that's right. It's the only top 10 hit, Deals. It says we got 5 out of 10.
That's not bad.
You did all right, it says. Right, to finish off, let's find out what Britpop band we are. This is relatively recent. Oh, it's just 4 questions. That's good.
You are Echo Valley.
Not sure how many bands they've even
asked.
They mention Oasis, Blur, Suede, Pulp, Elastic, and Echo Belly. Oh, that's the only. So maybe there are more. But let's see. Let's start. Answer these 4 questions to find out. Oh, choose a colour: red, purple, black, or blue. The blue's nice. That's a nice blue.
Blue.
It's that nice blue I like.
A good band.
Describe your perfect night out. Here we go. Getting the drinks in round the local before ending up in a fist fight. I don't think that's something we've ever done.
I'm going to get the blue tones.
Off to the local boozer before an all-night house party. Off to the local boozer before. Well, I have done that. That's something I have done. Getting lost somewhere in a field in Hampshire. I don't think we've ever got lost in a field in Hampshire, although we do live quite close to Hampshire. A quiet gathering, drinking red wine and reading literature. I mean, that's probably what we did when we were older, but not in the Britpop days. I think the second one, because I definitely went to a local boozer and then came home and found there was a house party. That's the most drunk ever. So, where did you live in your 20s? A flat above a shop, a council estate up north, student halls, an upmarket squat or commune.
All 4 of them.
Yeah, I think that house I lived in Camberley was that last one. That it was an upmarket. Well, it wasn't a squat or commune, but I never lived in student halls. I didn't live in a council estate. I did live up north, a flat above a shop. I never lived in a flat above.
You never lived up north.
I lived in the Midlands. Choose the footwear. Oh well, this is mostly me, but choose the footwear that most speaks to you: Converse, Brogues, Chelsea boots, or Adidas.
Chelsea boots.
You never want a pair of Chelsea boots. It's got to be Converse, although not in the Britpop era it won't. Okay, let's see what band we are. Although if you hate it, it's more my fault. Who's this? Can't see the bottom half. Ah, you're Blur. You live your life with a healthy sense of irony and a whole lot of humour. We could do worse. Done a lot worse deals. Yeah.
What were the other options?
Well, Oasis, Blur, Suede, Pulp, Elastic, and Echo Belly were mentioned. I don't know if there were others beyond that. This is just Radio X.
I don't know how you could have got different bands for the only 4 questions. 6 bands.
Deals, what do you think? Deals, you're happy being Blur, aren't you? Yeah, I was picking the Blur. Well, you were Morns.
Well, listeners, that's about all we've got time for. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was nice going back, and I think one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode was that I just before I was about to speak to Calum, because we speak about every fortnight on Zoom. Now he doesn't live here, and the BBC has been repeating episodes of Top of the Pops. And originally that was one of the influences that I started talking about music on the show a few years back. We started with the sort of mid-80s because that was the episodes they were repeating. Well, they're now they're into late 92, 93, and I'm not watching it every week because it's weird. In some ways, I like watching the episodes that I'd never seen before. So the early 80s episodes, which I knew the music of, but I would have been too young probably to have watched. The late 80s, early 90s, although there's a lot of stuff I like there's also a lot of stuff I'm not so interested in. So I haven't been watching every episode, but I always watch the documentary they put out. And for some reason, they got to the stage where perhaps when it got to around like 91, 92, well, I don't know if it was because of the pandemic, but they didn't have the documentaries at the start of the season. And I was a bit sad about that. But then suddenly, a month or two ago, they announced that they were going to show those documentaries for those years. And I thought it was just going to be for the years that they were, that they'd missed and where they were and where they were at now. But as it happened, I don't even know how many documentaries they've done. I don't know if they've done the whole 90s. but they went beyond the point that they're showing, and they did 93, they did 94, I believe there's 95 to come. There'll probably be more by the time I release this episode. But anyway, I watched the 94 one, and that's where you kind of realise, gosh, how many Britpop bands were popping up, and people like Oasis and Blur were having sort of top 10 hits, and other bands like Elastica. Apparently, one of their songs, I think Connection, is the biggest Britpop song of all time in America. It was the song from that era that charted the highest. I'm not sure. I ought to check that out, I suppose. So anyway, I enjoyed watching that documentary, and I just thought, well, in that case, I'm going to do quizzes with Calum about Britpop, and then as I was doing that, I thought, oh well, we might as well talk about it, and then I thought I ought to talk to Harry about it, and although he didn't go to gigs that often, and there were certainly a lot of Britpop songs that I sort of introduced him to that he was quite keen on at the time. So anyway, that is all we've got time for. We've got plenty of episodes in the can, so we'll be back soon. Thanks for joining us, and you take care. Okay, bye for now. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. That episode. It was a fantastic time for music. It was. And I don't know. I suppose if you sort of go back to a lot of Britpop bands, in a way, harked back to a 60s or 70s sound, but then updated it to the 90s. And if you think of a time in the 60s, say, where you've got lots of bands like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Kinks, Hollies, I don't know, all those sorts of bands, and in a way, some of those bands are inspiration to the Britpop bands. I mean, Blur definitely had a hint of the Kinks, and Oasis definitely favoured sort of later 60s Beatles songs, and yeah, I suppose when we looked at the 60s, like Martin and I, you'd note that there was those type of songs, that a lot of those songs that have remained, and yet there was quite a lot of easy listening stuff amongst it. And someone like Frank Sinatra would pop up, or even though the general sound of the era was more sort of rocky or well, whatever you'd call the Beatles and the Stones. I mean, I guess you would call them rock, but they're also pop. It's difficult to pinpoint what these words really mean. I think they probably mean different things to different people, and some people are very, oh, that's not rock, that's pop, or that's not pop, that's rock, or oh, you can't dare say that. Some people get very funny about it. Whereas because I like both, it all kind of merges into one. It's just music, 20th century music or 21st century music. But Paul, what was your point? Sorry, yeah. Well, I was going to say, in the mid-90s, when you were getting a lot of these Britpop bands, you were still getting things like Wigfield doing Saturday Night, or you did get sort of really poppy or dancey things that kind of sat side by side, or you'd have Wet, Wet, Wet doing, I don't know, that song from Four Weddings and a Funeral, or Bryan Adams doing, like, being at number one for 700 weeks, or Whitney Houston doing I Will Always Love You, or you did get stuff, probably a lot of it from America, sort of sitting side by side, or dance stuff from Europe sitting side by side with what I guess people my age or younger. I mean, Graham's 8.5 years younger than me, but he loved Blur. Well, he loved a lot of these bands. He loved Britpop too. I don't know whether he would have done, because he was only about 10, I suppose, just over 10 when a lot of those bands started being big. Would he have been exposed to it as much if I hadn't have been there? not sure. He wouldn't have had the pocket money to have bought the records, maybe. But it probably did help that I was there because I had copies of stuff. Because I was a student to start with, but then I was earning money, and Paul, I can hear the theme music. You're going to have to shut up now. Cup of tea. I'm sorry, Paul. I'm sorry. I just heard the theme music. It stressed me out. It's okay. It's okay. Yes, we do have to go. All right. Bye for now. Goodbye.
I gotta go now. Bye.
I want to go with you.
Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye.
It's been good, but yeah, definitely time to come home now.
Wow. Really? No kidding.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast. Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
I used to go to a lot of gigs back in those days. Yes. I'm surprised we didn't bump into each other, Paul. I guess, I was in Birmingham until, 95, 96. I went to things in Birmingham, shows in Birmingham. I saw Supergrass in Birmingham. I saw Pulp in Birmingham. I saw Garbage in Wolverhampton. Oh, yes, I wasn't in Birmingham, so, perhaps I went to London gigs when you went to Birmingham gigs. Yeah, and then, of course, when I moved down here and I started going to gigs with Calum, that was sort of sometimes in London, but sometimes in Guildford or Aldershot occasionally. Smaller bands usually in Aldershot. But I guess we probably could compare notes, or I'd probably compare notes with Calum because I know you can't remember specifics like that. I'm afraid I can't. Although Sutton Park does help because I've sort of got a few things preserved on episodes of Sutton Park that I would otherwise have forgotten. Oh, yes, it's very good, that, isn't it? It's very helpful. But, we might have been at gigs and not realised it. Stupid, really. Silly we weren't more in touch back then. Yes. Oh, those were good times, Paul. They were good times, but I still had more fun in the noughties probably than I did in the 90s. Although, who knows? The 90s were good too. Yes. The 2010s, not so good. 2010s, a bit so-so, but, I was having health problems in the 2010s. And, we started the podcast in the 2010s, so that was definitely a good part of that decade. Yes, of course. And yes, we got closer, Paul. You and I, we got closer. We did. And you were able to, repair your bond, you and Cromitty. Yes, that's true. Yes, lots of good things, you see, happened in the 2010s, actually, when you think about it. But the music, not quite as... Well, there are lots of good songs, but they're more hidden away. They weren't like the top 10 songs, necessarily. Yes, that's right, Paul. Yes, there's a lot of good music out there still. As you say, it's just not in the charts. It's quite bizarre, really, isn't it? It kind of is, yes, because, so many good songs. I've been keeping playlists and things. These songs, at some other time, they could have been big hits, but I guess it's nice to know it's there. It's just that, I know, Paul, I know. Oh, dear. Well, I suppose we better go. Oh, I shall go and listen to my Best of Britpop CD. Best of Britpop. Dear, oh dear. It's Uncle John, you need to be playing the albums. The album tracks. They're some of the best tracks. And B-sides. Oh yes, Paul, maybe you need to do me a compilation just to remind me of some of those hidden tracks. Yes, I think I must. I better do. We better go. Yes, Paul, let's go. Oh, yeah. Oh dear, oh dear. It's a shame Eek's not here to sing us some Britpop. I think it's probably best to leave it. Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. You probably forget all the words. Yeah, and the tune. The tune, yes.
I heard that, guys. I heard it. I heard you say that.
Oh dear. Come away, Eek, come away.
You guys are mean.
Oh, we didn't mean to be mean. We just kind of telling the truth, to be honest. Oh dear.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for doing all the quizzes as well this episode.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, dear. Yeah, thank you for doing those quizzes too. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
648.
This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
So we'll be back soon. Thanks for joining us, and you take care. Okay, bye for now.